So I mean, the series is over. I want to, you know, what I'm saying, I want to get you guys' thoughts on, you know, all 10 episodes. How you feel about it? You know, what did you do? What did you enjoy? What didn't you enjoy? You know, all that good stuff. Give me your overall thoughts of it. Steven, you've been wanting to say it. You've been wanting to get it off your chest since we started. So go ahead, Steven.
Floor is yours.
First, how do you feel about the document? Go.
Oh boy! All right. First 2 episodes were mediocre. I'm gonna be 150 with you. First episodes were mediocre. After that, I think this was, if not one of the greatest documentaries we've ever seen. I feel like just the whole dynamic of, because again, they labeled this documentary as the last dance for the final season of the Chicago Bulls, right? And I feel like we did get some of that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think there's some things that they've held back, either because they didn't feel like they felt comfortable sharing with the public, which that's fine. But anyway, so episodes 3 through 9.5 were just incredible.
All right, let me ask you, Steve. What do you feel they held back on?
I don't think they really disclosed a lot of like internal information that maybe they wanted to share with the public.
Like what?
Like, I think there was more, like, they don't really talk about, I think they only mentioned it one time with the relationship with Phil and Mike.
I think we
where,
got
like,
that.
he threw him out of practice because he was fighting with Kerr.
Okay, to answer that, to get Phil and Mike's relationship, look at what Mike did in practice. He was called the bully, tyrant, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Did Phil stop him?
Did Phil stop him?
Yeah. Did Phil
to an
stop
extent.
his leadership? Aside from getting thrown out for punching Steve Kerr, did he ever stop Mike for what he said to the team?
Phil was like, "Oh, come on, man, no, don't do that."
Yeah, he stopped him.
He's one of those.
Did he stop him from talking to the team? Who was the leader? Who was the vocal player on that team?
Of course, it's the GOAT.
So that's their relationship. Also, when Mike found out that Jerry Krause no longer wanted Phil to be there, what did Michael say?
Oh, absolutely. He stayed loyal to and said, "I'm not playing for any other coach."
That's
but then he kind of reneged his comment a few years later. But I get what you're saying. No, I get what you're saying, but he reneged his comments a few years later. But I get that.
By playing with the Wizards, really?
He did it.
Okay.
He did.
Okay.
Under Doug Collins.
Under Doug Collins.
His former coach.
I get that. Great. So,
but you got the relationship.
He was going to play Lakers.
What more do you need to know? Right, he didn't go to Lakers, but what more do you need to know?
I don't know. I guess my expectations were a lot higher as far as like some fights between him and Pippen, some differences.
And if they didn't happen, they can't show them.
But we don't know. That's my point. They wouldn't. I don't think they would disclose certain
I think
things.
you're reaching.
You know what I'm saying?
It's called the reach.
Yo,
No.
when LeBron's documentary comes out in 20 years, you can have more to say. You want to say
this is not Bad Girls Club. If they had a fight, they showed him.
Wait, why would I watch Bad Girls Club? What kind of shit is that, man? Why would you? Wait, hold on. Let me holler at you for a minute.
Love and hip hop. Okay, you're rich. You want to see fights. They literally went through the story of Kerr and Mike having that situation. Did you think Pippen and as much as Mike talks about Pippen, how he was his favorite teammate, he's the first one he went to when he hugged, like all this, you can see all of it visually. What do you want to see a fight for?
I wanted to see. I think the only bad thing he talked about Pippen was the when he retired and Pippen sat out.
He said the ankle game,
the migraine game,
selfish
migraine game.
But he didn't talk bad about Pippen. In the migraine game, he didn't talk bad about him.
Well,
he just said he had a migraine.
It's not bad. You can take it how you want to take it. It happened. Like he said, he had a migraine. Yeah, he had a migraine. Like he said that.
But it sounds like Steven wanted like a hidden camera in the locker room that ran the entire like joint, and you got to see like everything everybody said.
Right. It happened.
Everything, like every single thing that said, even wild stuff that we'd be like.
I felt like the best way to describe it, I think it was like a fabricated behind the scenes.
It's a documentary
behind the scenes.
It's a documentary.
But it was real footage. It was real footage, so it could have been fabricated.
No.
Steven wanted Love and Hip Hop Chicago.
Yeah,
no editing. I want the uncut footage.
You wanted drama that wasn't there.
All right.
All the other
Hear me out.
Steve wanted the telenovela.
Hold on. Hear me out. Just hear me out. For that team, can we all agree that team was delusional?
No.
Like in some
delusional?
Yeah, like they were a dysfunctional unit.
Dysfunctional and delusional.
Dysfunctional.
Okay, wait. Before we all go, explain. What do you mean by that?
So earlier you talked about Dennis Rodman, his old Vegas whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's a form of delusional. The Jordan, how he would act during practices and like.
I don't see delusion.
That's more closer to dysfunction. Yeah, it's closer to dysfunction.
But it's not even dysfunction.
No, I don't think it's dysfunction either. But that's closer to the
coach
work.
is handling it. Like he's literally managing it. He let him go when he didn't come back. Mike and him with the leadership of the team is handling it. They're managing the situation. There's no delusion. There's no dysfunction. Dysfunction would be him coming back and causing a ruckus.
No, who is handling it?
Phil, Mike, Scotty. Phil, Mike, and Scotty went to get Pippen. Well, Mike and Scotty went to get him. That's the leaders of the team. And then when he came back, we already said that he came right back in and was the man in practice. He's running laps around the rest of them.
So I feel like outside of not dysfunctional, maybe chaotic organization or organized chaos.
Chaotic. You could
organized chaos.
You could use chaotic.
Yeah, it was organized chaos.
What more?
That was from Krause. That was more from Krause than anything.
But Phil handled it.
How was it? Hold on, Jared. How was it Krause?
Because he's the one who started off the sitting saying he can go 82-0 and it don't matter. He ain't coming back. That's how it was started from Krause. That's organized chaos.
But again, that's Phil handled it.
It's chaos because of Krause. But Phil handled it and Jordan handled it. Like it was handled.
Phil handled all of it. Phil was always under control.
A lesser team would have allowed all of that to dismantle them and not achieve their goal.
Exactly. That's why it's not dysfunction. When you have the hierarchy, Phil's handling this. Mike and Scotty is the veteran leadership, and they're gonna get in your ass if you and everybody fall in place. There's no dysfunction. It was very functional to 6 championships. That's function if you ask me.
Yeah, but I think it was functional because of how great
That's very functional. 6 championships in 8 years?
No, but I think it's great because of how great Michael was. But then real quick, and
you
then
said it, not me. Just want the record to show.
Then you said
LeBron witness said that.
But then at the end, when they show the video, when they show Michael the video of what's the owner's name?
Jerry Reinsdorf.
And he goes, "Oh, I offered him because Michael's been doing 1-year deals, right?"
Mm-hmm. This is called the reach.
No. I think they mentioned like about
Mr.
either
Fantastic.
talking to Phil, and then Scottie Pippen negotiating for 1 more deal, if I'm not mistaken, or that was the last year on his contract.
No,
that was the last year on his contract.
Hypothetical. He gave a hypothetical.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mike was saying that, like, do you believe that if we would have asked Steve Kerr, all these people to sign 1-year deals, would they have come back and done it? He said Scotty would have been the most shakiest one, but if Scotty would have saw that everybody else was down, he would have done it.
Right. I don't think that team would have functioned the same.
Why not?
In another year. For another
year.
Way, because
it's all the same people.
Yeah, I put this spin on it. You got to remember, the next year was the lockout shortened.
Right.
That game season.
That favors them. That favors them. Yeah, 50 game. Yeah.
Older veteran.
I mean, that's hindsight. That's 2020 hindsight.
And again, the 8th seed Knicks made it to the finals.
Yeah.
I put that out there before.
We're not talking about the Knicks. We're not talking about the Knicks.
I'm just saying, but this is true.
And they're gonna beat the Spurs.
Right.
The Spurs.
Yo,
a young
that next season was a cakewalk.
Wait, hold on. You have the lag. So you're telling me Chicago would have had? I think Chicago would have had a struggle with the Spurs. Yeah,
in a 50-game season.
Why?
No.
Why would they have a struggle?
No.
David Robinson.
The Spurs were just learning how to win at that point.
Right.
At that point, you know what I'm saying? Like they were a good team, but they were just learning how to win. When it would have came up against that machine, nah.
Yo, got a young Timmy and on the ways out, David Robinson.
Yeah.
David Robinson. Yeah.
Who's stopping Mike? Only playing 50 games in the season.
Yeah.
So he's not gonna be worn out shooting front rim jumpers.
You mean to tell me Bruce Bowen got that?
Bruce Bowen.
Come on,
son.
Wow.
I mean,
y'all hating on Bruce.
I miss Steve.
All right, hold on. So
you miss me? I miss you too, buddy.
Yeah, bro.
So Jared got to run real quick. So we're gonna let Jared say his piece real quick, and we're gonna get back to Steven.
Oh God, let's hear this.
We'll get back to this.
Let's hear this.
Okay, witness. Okay, witness.
Speak your piece, Jared.
But let me say this. Like, I would never say. I don't even say the first 2 episodes were fucking mediocre. But anyway, that shit is disrespectful. I'll say that shit when LeBron's things come out in like 20 years. But anyway,
this is like LeBron.
But anyway, I would definitely say that it's been a great eye-opening experience because you not just got a 98 season, but you got the totality of the Bulls, basically history with Jordan. And I think it's been a phenomenal ride to see that whole thing unfold because you got a chance to see how MJ transformed, the Bulls from the cocaine circus to a freaking respected, a respected franchise like the Celtics, like the Sixers, like the Lakers, as Jordan alluded to and said. Mm-hmm. I also want to say that it's behind the scenes and stuff, like it's great to see the sportsmanship behind it all because even with the losses that Malone, Miller, Ewing, and all of them had, they all respected each other that great. But it was like, I respect you, but I still want to beat you. Not, yo, I'm getting my ass handed by you, bro. I'm gonna come and join y'all next season. We're gonna have, we're all gonna link up. Like the only time they linked up was like, the scrimmage, for Space Jam and also for the Olympics.
Right.
Like they had great respect for one another, but at the same time they all wanted to beat one another. They didn't want to harp on each other and play, like the only time you did that was at the end of your career, like when you gave it all to your franchise. And granted, I get people should not have loyalty to a team because teams don't always have loyalty to the players. I get that. Never. But at the same time, when you gave it all and you try to compete against these players, you didn't say, yo, I'm on the team up with you. Like, you didn't see Malone go like until like he was done. He was finished. Peyton, the same thing for Peyton. Like in their prime, you didn't see Miller like, I can't believe I keep losing this nigga Mike. Yo, Mike, I'm gonna come play you out, right? Like, that didn't happen. That's happening nowadays, which I don't have respect for all of that, but we're in different eras. And I can't speak to that era like that. But I hope everybody that that watched that see the competitive, passion, the competitive nature that went on to say, I respect you, I love you, I'm your friend. Like we could be best friends off court, but as soon as it's game time, I'm trying to kick your ass. Like, we can fight about it later, but but it's gonna be on. And it's great to see, like, even Malone, like, after the second time he lost, like, that's hard. I know that hurts. You lost to Mike 2 times in a row, but you still went on the team. Still shaking hands. You still shaking hands, saying, congratulations. Like, That's not easy to go on the bus and say that. Like, it's not easy.
Right.
But but you had the respect to say that and do that. So I think it's great to see, like, that whole sportsmanship, in the whole nature that, to say that we could be friends off court, but on the court is battle and it's war. in terms of things I didn't know, like I didn't know about Steve Kerr's dad like that, and it's sad to see that. I do hope that Mike and Kerr, may have had a conversation afterwards, because that's two traumatic experiences, two different experiences, but it's two traumatic experiences, and they probably didn't know that at the time being because they're just trying to focus on just trying to win the chip. Like Kerr was more privy to Mike's thing, but I'm pretty sure Mike didn't understand or know what happened in '84 with his dad, with Kerr's dad. We did have a 30 for 30 on Rodman, so there were some things about Rodman's life that I didn't know about before. But it's always fun to see, like Rodman's whole journey, and just to see how great of a coach that Phil really is, because it's not just about his coaching schemes and whatever, it's about the way he handles and manages his team. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes more Phil of the greatest coach of all time, is the way he handles teams and handles personalities. Because anybody can drop X's and O's and have a scheme or whatever. Because you have many. Popovich is a great coach. He never ran a triangle, so it's not just about what you run all the time. It's about how you manage your players and so forth. So it's just been a great documentary to show why we all love the 90s of basketball, to show the physicality, what it took, with the heart that it was. That's about it. I mean, I'm crying about it now, because that shit was passionate, man. But that's all I got to say, but I got to run out of here, man.
No doubt. Later, Jared, thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, before we get back to Steven, let everybody get their piece out.
Yo, Jared's funny. Oh, the era where people join together. Yo, who's this team? This team's the Brooklyn Nets, right?
Like I said, we're gonna move along.
Yo, get out of here. Yo, where is he? Yo, bring him back so I can tell him that statement.
When he left, he gone now. He gone.
He dropped the mic and ran.
You know what I'm saying? He gone. You can't call him.
And he had the audacity to talk bad about LeBron.
Anyway, as I was saying,
Arthur Fist right
as
now.
I was saying,
I'm sorry.
Jarrell, tell me what you think about the series itself as a whole.
Nah, it was amazing. I mean, I wouldn't I couldn't call it anything short of amazing. Like, it brought out a lot of information that we didn't know. I saw how difficult that journey was. I mean, coming up through that time, the Bulls just looked magical, which they were, but they made it look so effortless that they were so dominant that you didn't know that these things were going on in the background, the struggles that everybody had. I think these brought that to light, in a great way. I think was a couple of things I took away from it. One, how good of a coach Phil Jackson is, because that, to pull that together, to know how to tap into a Dennis Rodman like that, to manage those personalities. A lot of people say this about the Bulls, just like they say about, let's say, the current Warriors. You can stick any coach, with a team with talent like that, and it doesn't really matter. So, a lot of people don't give him credit for the job he did in Chicago, for the job he did in LA, because, you have these great players, so anybody can do it. But I think Phil's mastery of organizing personalities, getting the best out of his players, that's really what he brought to the team. I'm not saying he didn't know basketball, because he obviously did, but that's the part of Phil that creates the component that this doesn't work without. There's a lot of components. This whole journey had a lot of pieces that had to be in place, that if they're not there, it doesn't happen. And Phil Jackson coaching is one of those things. I wish, though, even though I don't think people are going to film me on this, I wish they would have gave Kukoc's basketball contribution a bit more of on that 98 team, actually in that whole second run, a bit more light. Not that he was a superstar, whatever the case may be, but he was a very solid player. They gave him, they talked about him as far as the whole way that we got killed in the Olympics because his connection to Krause and everything. And but I think we all remember Tony Kukoc. I mean, he did his thing. He played well for them, and I think they could have showed that a little bit more of how he contributed to that team being where it was. But aside from that, you know, we learned a lot about all of those guys. I learned a lot about Steve Kerr. I didn't know the way they all pulled it together. It was massively shot, edited. It was great, and I don't know if we'll ever see. I mean, you know, people will do good. We're making documentaries, and if you got the right people behind it, so there's going to be more that come along. There's going to be a Kobe story. Down the line, there's going to be a LeBron story. There's always these are going to continue to be made, and I think they serve a great purpose because we get but so much as fans without that inside look, and this kind of brings it together, especially people from our era who are there able to watch it live. It's different from, you know, somebody who's like 16 watching this, where they learn a lot. But they get this, and this is all they have. We got to watch it and now see the dots connected, which I believe that experience is just, you know, unquestionable. It was awesome.
Lewis, give me your final thoughts on the Last Dance series.
Man, it was much needed, great TV. The storytelling, I give the director plenty of props because he pieced together every episode artistically, and it was well-rounded. I mean, we saw a part of that team that no one's ever seen, and he tied in greatly how that first repeat factored into the next repeat. He connected those dots also well for me. I love the fact that we got to hear Kerr's story, which I didn't know about. I mean, there's a lot of stories that Rodman going out to Vegas. Yeah, I knew some stuff about it. He went out to Vegas. I didn't know there was a conversation about it. You know, that Phil just let him go. It was just so much I would kind of wish that 10-part series was a 20-part series, because it was just masterfully done from beginning to end. We got to see a part of Jordan that no one outside of his inner circle ever saw. Mike was very much humanized. You know, we understand that he went through stuff. His father's passing, and he had different emotions and different times in his life where he questioned even playing basketball. So for me, it was great TV. I'm glad. The one positive coming out of the pandemic is that we got this early.
Yeah.
We didn't have to wait to mid-June to get this, you know, after the finals and everything was done. So all around great TV.
Agreed. Especially like that point about when we got it, because the plan was like after the finals, and getting it now was right on time because it's all the basketball we have. Like, to me, the Bulls is just
right.
20 champions. They just won again.
Basically,
we just won it again this year because the season is a wrap. So we're gonna give them another trophy. That's number 7. It's the 7 that Mike said they could have got. Chris, talk to me. Steve,
I would say by far. You said what?
I said, Steve, stop making noise. You know a lot of tapping and stuff.
My hands over here. What are you talking about?
When I muted you and went away, I keep hearing some tapping. I don't know.
Nah, nobody tapping.
All right, go ahead, Chris.
I would say from beginning to end, one, I don't know what Steve talking about. He tripping. Every episode, from content to production, the music selection for each scenario, each scene was impeccable. The way that they transitioned back and forth, except for like the last episode where it got dicey because it was so close together as far as transitioning between the seasons. By far, hands down, the best sports documentary I've ever seen.
Okay.
Front to end. I think it highlighted how great of a dynasty this Bulls team was to basically run the entire 90s of basketball. Mm-hmm. You can't mention anything in the 90s about basketball without mentioning these Chicago Bulls. But then it also ties in when we weren't on top of the mountain. You know what I mean? It ties in when we were struggling to get there, how we fought to get to that point. And I feel like a lot of people try and use that to discredit the greatness of, you know, Michael Jordan and how great the Bulls team was. Nobody starts off at their apex.
Nah.
Everybody has to have that rise, and everybody has to have that, you know, that come up. They literally showed you front to end. We showed you, it's like they laid it all out on the line. We showed you our greatness, and we also showed you our setbacks. We showed you where we were lacking and when we were lacking. Now, a lot of it, as a Bulls fan, we knew when we had those lacking moments, but we didn't know the details behind it and the stuff that drove it the way it did.
Right.
I feel like, honestly, there won't be another documentary like this unless, as far as dynasty goes and dynastic teams, unless the New England Patriots had something like this. I feel like that New England Patriots team, as far as dynasty goes, is the only thing that can match dynasty for dynasty with that Bulls team. Not even the Lakers with Phil switching over and Kobe. I mean, granted, Kobe's documentary will be great once they do it, if they do decide to do it. But I feel like as a whole, not just individual based, as a team, to be able to create a dynasty with what you have and then build on that, the Patriots are the only team that was able to do it in that fashion, in my opinion. The only thing I hated, or the only thing I didn't like about the last episode was when they said Phil doesn't want to coach a bad team. And the only reason I don't like that is because I feel like people who try and argue that Phil is not the greatest coach ever are going to pick apart that statement and try and use that as, see, Phil ain't never coached bad teams before. Right. They're going to try and go on that. It doesn't change just because he didn't want to coach a rebuild team. I feel like coaching what he did and the way he did was a much harder feat than trying to coach a rebuild team or a bad team. But yeah, it was great and sad. It was, I'm mad that it ended. Yeah, I'm definitely mad that it ended. I feel like they had a good chance to get 7, but in my basketball mind, not my fandom, I feel like we wouldn't have got 7 if all would have come back. I feel like it would have been too much wear and tear, and there would have been injuries that mounted up to where we wouldn't have been able to bounce back.
Good point. I mean, we all know Mike came back and played for the Wizards for 2 more years, but that was such a great ending. If it stopped right there with that shot, like that ending would have been, because it kind of leaves this docuseries kind of like, yeah, but there's more. You know what I mean? But if Mike never did, and not to take away from those Wizards years, because he still showed how great he was, that's like a story in itself. But if the story did end right there, I would have preferred that than them come back for 7 and then they fail and the story ends with a failure. You know what I mean? It was great seeing that the story did end, and that was kind of the whole point of the Last Dance was like, all right, Jerry Krause want to blow the team up because he's saying this person's too old and this person's overpaid and da 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 da. Well, we're gonna win and show him that we still got it, and it took a lot out of them to even get that much. You know what I mean? So as much as people villainize Krause, it was like like I said, like I've been saying, it was his job. You know what I'm saying? Why would you even have a GM put a team together and then disappear for the next 8 years?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like his job is to continue to figure out, I got to build here. We got draft picks. I got to trade. Oh, this Croatian dude is all right. He might want to come over here. Like that's his job to continue to fill the gaps, what's missing in the team, or prepare for the next year. Okay, this dude's getting kind of old. His contract's coming up. You know what I'm saying? That's his job to continue. And like I said, to this day, that's still going on. That's sports. That's the business side of sports. This old veteran eventually has to get replaced. And, a lot of people don't want to wait until 2-3 seasons of him being terrible. It's like, all right, if we can catch it when it happens, we can fall right into the next one, like Green Bay did when they went from, from Favre to Aaron Rodgers, like San Francisco did from Montana to Steve Young. Like you want to be able to move right to the next one. Unfortunately, there's no replacing Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? There's been a couple baby Jordans. There's been the next Michael Jordans. You know what I'm saying? And that's not happening. And you know what I mean? That's always going to loom over Jerry Krause because as much as he built that team, he had Michael Jordan, and that was the one person he didn't put on that team. You know what I mean? Like the one piece to the puzzle was the one that was there before him. And I think that may have been what was always, and again, he passed away a couple years ago. He can't defend himself or even speak his piece to this. You know what I mean? So the only thing the director had to go off of was the clips that he did speak on, the news clips. And shout out to Craig Sager, who's no longer with us, who pissed Jerry Krause off in that episode when he asked that question.
About the backstabbing, that was Craig Sager?
Yeah, it was Craig Sager
Wow.
that asked him about the backstabbing in the locker room.
Yeah.
And
could you hear the guy at the end? Thanks, Craig.
And somebody, right?
Yeah. He did say things, Craig, but I didn't know that was Craig Sager.
Yeah, it was Craig Sager.
I fuck with Craig Sager. Yo. Get out of here.
You know what I mean? But that, he snuck in there. If this is the greatest sports doc, Craig Sager had a moment too. So we shout out to Craig Sager.
Yeah.
If a basketball documentary, it's only right we got Craig Sager in there somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we didn't see him, but we heard his voice. He pissed off Jerry Krause, you know what I'm saying? And thanks a lot, Craig. This is funny. But I enjoyed most of it. I knew, but I enjoyed reliving it. I enjoyed the things that filled in information and gaps that I didn't know. I didn't know about Steve Kerr's pops. The LeBradford Smith story to me is still legendary, but the fact that Mike made it up makes it even more crazy. I thought all these years that LeBradford Smith was a brave soul who just didn't get, you don't say that to Mike, but to find out that Mike just made that up makes it even more hilarious. And they went into they touched on, like I said, the middle episodes got deep, and they went to the gambling and truly broke down Michael Jordan's competitive nature. They really showed what separates him from people. Like to some people, it's a job, or it's just I'm good at it, so I can make a couple dollars off of it. Or some people nowadays do it and it branches off into other things for them. They really don't care about winning the championships. You know what I'm saying? But for Mike, he just wanted to be better than everybody else. He always had something to prove, and he also explained too that he had an obligation to the team and his teammates. He said the fans. When he first retired, he said, "I fulfilled my obligation to the city of Chicago and the team and the organization." Like that's a burden he's putting on himself. You know what I mean? He's saying they drafted me, or they look to me. I have to do this for them, and that's a different way to look at it. You know what I mean? That's pressure on yourself that you're putting. And the best way for me to sum it up was like I said, I think I said a couple episodes ago, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And when most people think that Michael Jordan was like a Thanos, he really was Tony Stark. You know what I'm saying? He was the dude that came in, was all about himself. You know what I'm saying? Was selfish and all that, and then turned that around. And at the end of the day, was making sacrifices for the team and stuff. You know what I'm saying? The flu game, like even when he hurt his ankle, and you know what I'm saying, all the things he did, he put a lot of burden and pressure on himself. He still had his selfish, moments, his personal moments that he did things for himself. Somebody better than me, all right, I'm gonna show them. He still had that, but at the end of the day, he was high-fiving and making the team better, and there was a bigger picture that that was shown, and it seemed very authentic. I don't know him personally, but it came off very authentic that there was a lot more reasons, for him to do it. And people talk about, he made $30 million the last 2 seasons. He was only making $4 million before that. You know what I'm saying? He was underpaid, but he was obviously making Nike money, McDonald's money, and all that. But it was just like, if that was the case, then he would not have come back if that was what it was for. You know what I'm saying? He came back for the love of the game, the obligation of what he felt people expected of him. You know what I'm saying? He always said he played every night like somebody was watching him for the first time. And the thought of that is just wow. Like I gotta, tonight is night one and someone's seeing me. I gotta put on a show. I gotta show greatness. So it can't be that one night where somebody's like, that Michael Jordan dude is all right. I saw him one time and he wasn't all that. He made sure every night somebody was like, wow. You know what I'm saying? And it sounds selfish, but you can also flip it and say it was for, the other perspective. So that's deep to me. To me, that it's the mental side. He the cerebral assassin that he was showed in the documentary. And I didn't know if they were going to really show primarily Mike or the team. They didn't really go into the team, but we got the team's perspective of Mike, you know, from Will Perdue, BJ Armstrong, and all the guys. And, you know, I mean, Mike was the son, and they were the planets that orbit him, you know what I'm saying? And it made sense. You know, you didn't need to go deep into their story, but Michael Jordan, it was going to tie back to him anyway.
Really?
Yeah, so it just made sense. We got Dennis's backstory. You know, we got some information on Kerr. We got a little bit on Cool Coach. You know what I'm saying? We got Pippen's backstory. We got Phil's backstory. And, you know, like I said, they were like the Avengers, man. It was just, you know, it was a great ride. I enjoyed the last episodes. Like I said, it was intense watching it. It was a little emotional. Not sad. I joke around and say I was crying, but it was just like just watching it as if it was the first time again. You know what I'm saying? Seeing and getting it's like watching the director's cut of something. You know what I'm saying? You watch a DVD and you get the director's commentary and they're explaining that scene. So we're watching the moves and things that Jordan is doing, but we're also getting a cut of, and this happened the day before, or this is da-da-da-da-da, and we're getting more information into it. So it was just great to me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's the greatest sports documentary of all time. I probably have to watch it again in a whole. I do know that not everyone needs 10 episodes. They may have been able to even cut this down to 7 or 8, but I don't think they can just make a 10-episode documentary because now it was done. Because I seen that polling on Instagram, like, oh, what's the next 10 doc? We don't need 10 episodes just because. You know, if the time allotted needs to tell the story, you know, then so be it. But 2, 3, 4 episodes, 5. I think OJ was like 5 or something like that. You can tell a story in 5. Not everybody needs 10. You know, if this was just Michael, they probably could have got it in 5. But the fact that it was,
what would you put up there to compare it to, as far as if it's not the greatest sports doc? What would you say matches that?
Well, the 30 for 30s, there's been so many of them, and maybe because most of those gave me newer information, I may put those higher. But like I said, I have to watch them again. But the there was a few. I mean, the Rodman one to me is up there. The Buffalo Bills one was very, you know, and again, like I said, it may be because it was a lot more new information to me. So the emotion's a little different because like I didn't know. By the end of it, I'm like, I didn't know. You know, a lot of like the Buffalo Bills one and their legacy of being branded as losers. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of a sad story, you know what I'm saying? And maybe that's why. But like I said, I'd have to go back and.
It's not sad, it's the reality.
But like I said, I'd have to go back to it to really. I don't want to just throw it out there and say it's the best one ever. If I watch it all again, 10 episodes straight, I may put it up there. But the 30 for 30 series definitely, you know, and they got a few more coming. You know, they got Lance Armstrong. I think he's only two episodes.
Sosa McGuire.
So
Bruce Lee.
ESPN's cranking him out.
McGuire.
Huh?
I said, fuck Sosa McGuire. They excluded Barry Bonds. It need to be Sosa McGuire Bonds.
I mean, I get them having because they did it that one summer together. It's
together, right? Yeah.
I do think Barry Bonds is the home run king, and I think they need to start recognizing him as such. Because he was never found to use anything. So until then, you can't just make up an asterisk because you feel like it. Like, you know, so I think they need to give him the credit, but he would be his own 30 for 30, I think, you know what I'm saying? But Sosa McGuire that summer, like I said, I was in high school when they were doing it, that makes sense to have them together. Steven, we can come back to you.
Yeah.
Are you
what it is?
You have more you want to say about
not really. I mean, it was a good documentary. It was cool. I mean, you know what? It's rewatchable. That's nice. That's pretty much it. It was cool. I know you was happy because it was your Chicago Bulls, and you know you're a Bulls fan. That's great.
Like
but you know, it was cool.
I'm glad the story was being told, and I enjoyed it. You know what I'm saying, for what it was worth. And a lot of people are opening their eyes now to 90s basketball. The Bulls that ran the 90s and Jordan, why? Because, you know, when you hear the stories, the old heads always say, oh, you know, hip-hop used to sound like this and basketball used to be like this. But now the kids are seeing it. You know, just tell him as an old head, and we just talking. Kids are enjoying this and watching it and seeing like, well, he hit him. Like, well, yeah, and no foul was called. You know, Reggie Miller was like, yo, put the referee to call it. They didn't call it. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. So, and I feel like Steven, you went for cattiness out of it, and I don't think there was necessary. One,
say it again.
I don't believe there was cattiness to even be there.
Oh, cattiness. Okay.
Yeah, like you know, you wanted Scotty and Michael to have. I think they understood each other's roles, and Mike always spoke about Scotty with the utmost respect. Everywhere, his Hall of Fame speech, championship speeches, like everywhere.
Yeah, of course. Do you think there was? I think there was like, I don't know. For me, like, it's so minute, but there was a great moment where Michael was talking to Ahmad Rashad and somebody else, and he goes, Ahmad, you do not talk to Scott Burrell.
Yeah.
You are, what he said? He said
you're going to
authorize
scare him. You're going to scare him.
Yeah. You're going to, I'm telling you, do not speak to him. You're going to scare the shit out of him.
And again, I think like, their relationship was like a big brother, little brother relationship. He picked on him. Again, people call it bullying because we're sensitive now. I think
different now.
I think he liked him. I think he liked him as a person and just felt like he was easy to crack jokes on.
That'd be the same energy where it's like, yo, if I don't talk to you, if I don't put my energy into you, that's when you worry about how I feel.
Exactly. Michael Jordan is taking his time to even talk. How many times did he talk about Scott Burrell in this episode in this series? Like
a few times.
Exactly. Like the last 4 episodes, you heard about Scott Burrell. Like, and he had like one.
So dude, that only one season.
Yeah,
you ain't never hear him talk about Judd Bushler.
He mentioned him once. He told him he couldn't even.
Yeah, he said he
went to go take his money. That was it.
And he dabbed him up on the.
Yeah, that's it. Judd Bushler, Dickie Simpkins, Bison Dele. You can go through the whole list of other guys. We didn't hear none of them, and they played way more minutes than Scott Burrell.
But you know what? Another thing I took away from that is we name all these players. Mike had respect for all of those players. Like I mean, you know, he again, he might not have mentioned Bison Dele and all those people that much, but like he went after his people and to make them better. Like we spoke about this when the whole episode about his leadership and how he led. Again, like that, I never liked that about him and the way he did that. But this definitely brought him to a different light to me, because all these years, I'm looking at that like, nah, he's an asshole. Like, how you be like that to your teammates? But this documentary showed me the teammates' perspective. Like I never heard these dudes be like, well, yeah, that was some asshole shit, but he did it because he was trying to do this, and we knew it came from there. Like intent is big, you know what I'm saying? Like what you were trying to do speaks volumes. Like some people are just assholes to be mean and to pump themselves up or whatever the case may be. Like as much as there's other ways to do it, he had an end goal of like, I'm trying to get y'all up here. I'm trying to get y'all to where we can function as this unstoppable force. So that's another thing I that's opened my eyes about him was, as much as he went that route, it was, the people that he did it to, they cool with it. They like, yo, like it was hard, but we see where he was going, and look, we all wearing rings because of it.
Straight up, like we wouldn't have been here if he didn't do that.
Right.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we can't feel bad for victims that don't feel like victims.
Don't feel bad, right? Yeah, we can't be mad if they're not mad. If they're not mad, how are we mad?
Like, no, I'm good.
Right,
cool.
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I love Mike.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So why we like, no, but he called you. Yeah, no, that's cool, but I got.
Paul, let me ask you a question. Let me ask everybody a question real quick.
Here we go.
Do you think Michael Jordan was a little bit sensitive?
Sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
Are we all?
But see, it's what he did with that sensitivity that made him different.
I don't want to know the context of the question before I say yes.
Because
in some way, shape, or form,
because the George Call incident, right? The Drexler.
He didn't speak.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Sure.
I felt like he was sensitive in his own right, which I get why he used that.
But to Lewis's point,
like, it's how he used it. It's how he used it. He didn't go in that corner like he didn't shake my hand. He didn't say nothing to me.
And he didn't keep a grudge. He didn't say fuck you.
Look at KD, right? KD ultra sensitive, but he don't never use that to propel his game. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he'll be mad. He make all these tweets and all these stuff, but he don't it's always just because he mad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he performs because he's super talented, but it's never as I'm gonna show y'all. He just go on his phone and cry. You know what I'm saying? That's all he does. Mike's is like, okay, well, word. So we having dinner. You act like you don't know me. All right, bro. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like it was competitive edge. If it was using that to basically say, yeah, we could be cool, we could be cordial, but I'm coming out here to kill you. I want to rip your heart out before halftime. And I think that's what the whole drive was. It wasn't, I'm just going, he ain't even fucking eat with me and shit. He ain't even say hi. It was straight up, okay, cool. But, and it's like, he never made that public until after the fact. It's not like he went to the
big too, right.
While it was happening, like, George Bell ain't even say shit to me.
Right.
These motherfuckers.
Now, to his credit,
so is better than me. It was after the fact where he would then say, "This is what I used because I knew I needed to get to a certain mindset, and y'all just helped me get there."
It wasn't an insecurity of sensitivity.
Yeah,
he wasn't. He was still secure in himself. Like, you gonna do that, then I'm gonna do this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He said, Charles Barkley got the MVP. You got that. I'm gonna get this. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Like I said, I see it. Everyone is sensitive in their own way. Yeah. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's human nature. LeBron gets on Twitter and start talking about people. You can make.
Oh boy.
You can not be on the team. That's sensitive. Like, I'm just saying, you want to throw it out there. You with it. Your man tweets. Why are you sending subtweets about your teammates? Talk to them. They right there.
And that's the difference too. To like, there wasn't the Twitter for Mike to get on.
Yeah.
To talk about how how do the like it wasn't a Twitter for him to run to and be like, okay, so George called. I don't see me in the restaurant. See you tomorrow. Like that avenue wasn't there either. Not saying that he would have took it, but it is a different time and a different access.
So you
okay?
Good,
huh?
You good, Steven? Did that answer your question?
I'm great, yeah, man. It was a cool documentary. It was good. I'll rewatch it again.
Steve is like, that Last Dance documentary was cool. It's cool, all that. Yeah. But I see more John Blaze in that, bro. They not recognized. They're not recognized.
But can I be honest with you? Jordan is the greatest of all time. So
say it again.
I said you did admit that he's the greatest of all time.
Oh, if there's one thing this documentary highlights, there will never be another Michael Jordan. And even though you didn't let me speak about the last shot, I think it was the art of storytelling. That whole minute and whole minute sequence.
Mm-hmm.
It was the art of storytelling. It was the Byron Russell talking shit. It was the defensive that led. It was the Phil Jackson not choosing to take a timeout. It was about to be 6 championships in 8 years.
That speaks to the chemistry of why Phil, like Chris has said, why Phil would not want to start from the bottom again. I'm comfortable with these guys. I know what they can do. I know I don't have to call a timeout. If I got to start from scratch with a group of people, now I got to start calling timeouts now to explain stuff. I'm already in my point of my career where we good.
No,
I know what the triangle is. You know where to stay at. You know where to be at. Let's just go. Like, Phil
didn't even call timeouts when teams was on runs. Like when they was scoring 15 on them 15-7 run, he's like, yo, y'all figure that out, bro. Y'all figure that out, baby.
Right. Because I know these guys. I'm comfortable. We got a chemistry. They got a chemistry on the court. I got a chemistry with them. Like, I'm going to look at you like, figure it out.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of new dudes. They going to get the ball. And they looking over the coach. What do we do now?
Yeah.
Stop. I'm out. Come in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I get that. I mean, that comment definitely. I could see people using that to say he didn't want to rebuild the team or start with a bad team. But I can see why nobody does. Like, truth be told,